just learning how to operate in the world. What is their set of expectations? And to me, one of the most important skills for kids to develop, it's like one of my passion projects, is what I call is just frustration tolerance. It's our ability to tolerate frustration, not get out of frustration. Because in life, often the best you can do is just tolerate it. You just tolerate it. And screens have such low effort, high gratification, where most of successful adult life requires high effort, very delayed gratification. It's like completely the opposite. And when our kids are young, really what we're doing is we're building their circuitry for what to expect in the world, how to think about themselves, how to think about what they're capable of, what skills they've learned. And so to me, that's like the much larger picture. Now, again, if your kids have had iPads or they expect it, I wouldn't start at a restaurant. I'd actually think this is an actual skill. We don't expect kids to swim in the ocean before the pool, before the training pool, and we give them often swim lessons for a while before they actually swim independently. So I'd say the same thing at a restaurant. Okay, tonight is the first night we're gonna have a screen-free dinner, and that's screen-free for everyone. And this is what's so helpful. Even a 2-year-old can understand this. Sometimes mommy and daddy have screens at the table. You probably see that. Starting tonight, we're not. And if you see us kind of like sneaking, you can say, screen. And you're right. I shouldn't have that. And this might be hard for all of us. And we're a family who values connection and togetherness at the table. And so we're going to work hard to do that. Tonight, I'm just making this up. I'm going to set a timer. Do you think we can do it? And everyone sit, and you can even sit on your hands. You could put your hand here and take a deep breath like, I can sit, I can do it. Or you can even say, this is boring and I can do it. Because for kids, it is boring. That to me is actually the point. Sometimes life is boring. Let's build the skill of being bored, right? And I would do a minute. And the next night I would do 2 minutes. And before I went out to dinner, you better bet in my house, just for my own sanity, I would have worked up to something. Now, all of a sudden, beyond setting a boundary, I've actually set my kid up for success. Instead of the first time ever I'm going out to dinner, I'm going to end up yelling at them because they have never been in that type of situation before.
That is fantastic advice. I'm using all of that. I'm doing screen-free dinners. I'm a new woman.
You know why I bring this up too? And I'm actually like very passionate about this topic because I think about, like, imagine if we were doing this show together and every 2 minutes I was staring at a screen you would leave the interview probably, right? And I think, like, I watch children and waiters come up, and to your point, interacting with humans, some people don't like this, but it's an important skill set to have for every interaction in life, whether you want to build a business or you want to be, have a great career. Like, wait, this is the bar. Right? Yeah. And what I realize, it's really hard to teach kids these uncomfortable behaviors or these frustrations that you're talking about. Like, it's hard to get people to sit still. It is really easy to train them to do things that are low effort, meaning now kids show up and the minute they sit down at a table, where's the iPad? And you're training them that, like, this is the moment when they sit down that they just get to sit there and stare at a screen all day long. And so for me, I'm just super passionate about having people think about this and how it moves into the future. Because I think in the moment, they're like, oh, what's the big deal? It's a screen. But it's like, what does this look like long term?
Well, you're speaking to something at Good Inside. We talk a lot about our parenting approach being very long-term greedy. I actually think our parenting approach brings a ton of short-term wins. We can get to that. But if I had to choose, I'd say I'm going to be long-term greedy with my kids and your kids. Because what happens when they're 18 and over out of your house is so much higher stakes than what happens in your house.
Sure.
And so the way we parent our kids today becomes the way they think about themselves and how they relate to others. And it's something that is amenable to change. We all go to therapy. But you can think of it as like their factory settings or their kind of blueprint. And to me, the greatest privilege you can give a kid is kind of the emotional privilege of, I know how to deal with things that are frustrating. I believe I can do hard things. I've bounced back from failure. All the skills that really set a kid up. And that has to do with a lot of these everyday interactions. And so
I would like you to talk more about the interactions. I really want to instill good manners, looking adults in the eye, saying hello, shaking hands, all these things that I think are really important for children. And I don't have a blueprint on how to do that. How would you encourage really strong interactions with really young children?
Great. So number one, I would say just like swimming, we have to expect these skills to take time, right? Because again, if you teach your kids swimming in the first day, you're like, you're not swimming. I'm never taking you back to swim class. Parents will be like, you're crazy. That's an unrealistic expectation. And you've just layered shame. So now it's going to be harder for them to learn how to swim. Me too. I do this with manners all the time. And we tell our kids, you're so rude. Or did you see Bobby who said thank you? Right? That just like sets us back, right? Because I've just made my kid feel worse about themselves. Number one, modeling truly is the most important thing when it comes to manners. Our kids pick up on how we interact with people. Like you said, if I'm on my phone not greeting people, they're going to think this is the family value. And after you model it, you don't have to say to your kids, see, I said thank you for so-and-so having us over. Just model it and know that it matters. 2, practice it in your home. Like actually role play it. Let's say your friend Molly is having you over for a play date before you go. Oh, we're going to Molly's house. I wonder what can we say when Molly gives you lunch that's a little different than the lunch you're used to? Like, I'm going to give a couple options. 1, ugh, disgusting. 2, fine. 3, thanks for lunch. Which one? And like, you can make it playful. And parents are often worried to do the first. Our kids say these things all the time. We're not like putting that idea in their head. That's probably what they're going to say if we don't prepare them. I'm like, that's exactly right. Oh, that might be tricky to say in the moment. Do you think you could say that? That would be so cool if you could say that. So I'm actually preparing my kid. Maybe even if it's that important, I'd say, I'm going to give you breakfast before we go. Let's pretend it's that situation. What were you going to say? Oh, you're going to say thanks. Oh, you think you could say thanks to breakfast for me? So again, I'm really treating this the way we think about so many other things in life. Learning manners, learning how to get through hard things, learning how to manage your emotions. These really are skills. And if you think about yourself as like a coach, what does a basketball coach do if a kid can't make a free throw? They practice free throws.
When you see young children and some are shy and some are outgoing, how do you deal with these personality traits with the interaction?
Yes. So I think that's a really, really good point. Like, what is the role of temperament? I think we really misunderstand shyness, and I think we really do a disservice to our shy kids because there are kids who just take longer to kind of come out of their shell. And I'll never forget in my private practice, I saw this family of, I think the kid was like 4 or 5, and then right after a family of like a 16-year-old. And word for word, the first session was like, my kid's the only one. They don't make eye contact with people. They're always the last one to join the birthday party. They're so clingy. Why can't they be more confident? Okay. And then the second family was like, my kid was on this text chain. They got suspended on school. There was some issue. Why can't my kid see other kids doing something and know that that's wrong and like think for themselves? Why can't they be more confident? And I just remember thinking, wait, when our kids are 5, we refer to confident as like right away doing the action and kind of doing what all the other kids are doing. And then when our kids are 16, we define confident as noticing what everyone's doing and waiting and doing something different. Like that's really not fair to our kids. So I think when you have a kid who, I don't like to label anyone as shy, but tends towards shyness or just like is a little more reticent, then the skills around socialization will just take longer, right? So I think we have to have a little more patience. Don't discount the things you practice in your home, them saying thank you to you, clearing their plate. Even if they don't do those things in public, they're learning those skills.